Alright class, so let's go ahead and get started with the demonstration for this week's commands. So first we'll be covering the directory ones, but before we do that I just wanted to show you just a few features here on your VirtualBox. So notice I do have a lot of different virtual machines. Feel free to create more than one, right? If you have any issues where things can crash, right? Things can go wrong, you can always make a new one. Remember the Williams VM, right? That was only really required for the first assignment. You can name it whatever you want. Um, in fact, right, as we saw, certain characters aren't allowed, right, for the name, so you can always switch it up. But what I wanted to show you is that you have options here to save different snapshots. So, for example, you can save a certain state of your machine. So if you just take a snapshot here with the snapshot button, it'll essentially take it'll capture all the data, the current state that your machine is in, and you can restore your state back to any of those particular states. So maybe you're working on an assignment, maybe you're doing something for work, right? Once you become more of a Linux professional, you can always take a snapshot. You can also, when you turn on and off the machine, you'll notice stop, and you can always hit save state. So you don't have to restart the machine every time from scratch. You can always save wherever you left off. Very, very handy feature. There's the reset, the pause. Those are also useful. But anyways, let's go ahead and continue. So VBox user, remember the default password is change me. Good enough for us. So yeah, let's go ahead and continue with our commands. So first I'm gonna do a pwd, double check where I'm at. So I am in the home. If I ever want to go to my home directory, I can use the tilde that's next to the one key on the top left of your keyboard. You make sure you hit the shift button. And then once I change directories into the tilde, it will take me, notice, to my home directory. So it's a good idea to do whenever you want to return to that home base. I do ls, you see that all my important directories are here. Let's go ahead and create a new one. So we're going to call it mkdir, call it homework. So remember mkdir is make directory. So now if I do an ls, you can see that there's a new directory there, the homework folder. I can now change directories into the homework folder. Remember to use your tab key to autocomplete. And then there you go, I'm in the homework. So just like I made a directory, I can also remove a directory. So that's our next command. So you always want to be in the parent directory when you're deleting stuff. It's a lot easier. It is possible to navigate right with the two dots up a directory, but always easier just to be in the parent. So I'm gonna move up first. I'm gonna do an rmdir. It's a little bit slow. Give that a second. rmdir, and then homework, and then we'll notice if I ls this time, there's no more homework directory. Now remember, the rmdir remove directory command only works if homework is empty. If there are contents inside homework, you're not going to be able to use that one. You're going to need to use the rm command. Before we use the rm command, let's go ahead and create that homework directory one more time. Homework ls just to verify. Change directory into my homework directory. Now we're going to create a file. So I'm going to create some files before we go over the deleting. So let's go with the touch command, right, as we saw on the slide. So touch, we're just going to create a regular old text file. So we're going to put touch sample.txt. And now if I hit ls, I should be able to see my new file there, sample.txt. So we just created a file purely through the command line, right? You could have certainly done this through some, GUI app, a graphical user interface app, where it has buttons and icons you can click on. Doesn't get much faster though than command line. Very, very fast. Alright, so let's say we want to edit that file, right? Naturally, after creating the sample.txt, it is empty, so it might be useful to edit it. That's where your nano command comes in. Remember, you just need to type in the first few letters, hit your tab key, and the shell will autocomplete for you. So nano sample.txt. Here you can start typing some text. So here is some sample text in my sample.txt file. I am able to edit this file just in the command line by using the it was the nano command. There we go. And then as soon as you want to save this, notice that it does give you some helpful options here. The ones you really use the most are the write out, which is essentially save, and then the exit once you're done. So we're going to hit Control O to do the write out, which is save. It's going to ask you, oh, what's the file name you want to write to? I'm just going to hit enter because I'm not going to change the file. We wrote one line, so now I'm going to do Control X. And notice my sample text is there. I can certainly nano again. Nano sample.txt. To verify right, that's one way to do it. But there's a faster command if you're just trying to view the file right. You don't necessarily want to edit it. You can always do the cat. So cat is going to display the contents of sample.txt. And there it is. Here's some sample text in my sample.txt file. I'm able to edit this file just in the command line by using the nano command. So yeah, I don't have to enter and exit the file if I, in the example of using nano. If I just use cat, then it's really quick. It displays the file and that's it. It doesn't do much else, which is really useful, right? If you just want to see it really quickly. So last but not least is going to be move and copy before we go over the remove. So if I want to move this command, move this file, the sample.txt, I'm going to use the mv command. So remember, it's all about what do you want to move and then where you want to move it. Because I'm already in the homework directory, I don't have to do /homework /sample.txt. Remember, it's always relative path, right, when you're using these commands. So I can just say sample.txt. And notice it does autocomplete. Now, I'm going to move it to one of these other folders in my home. I'm going to move it to the, let's go with the downloads folder. So I'm going to move my sample text to downloads folder. Now, if I try to do downloads, it won't autocomplete because downloads is not in my current directory. It's not relative to this path. It's actually one directory up. Remember, homework and downloads are on the same level. Sample.txt is inside homework, so it's not in the same level as downloads. So I have to go up one level. If I go up one level with my two dots, and then I do tab downloads, it will autocomplete. Just like that. So this should move my sample.txt to download. So if I ls, there shouldn't be anything in homework. There isn't anything in homework. Let's go ahead and go up. You don't have to cd up and then cd downloads. You can do it all in one command. There you go. Sometimes you need a few more letters for it to autocomplete, so I did the first 4. Now if I ls, notice I have my sample.txt. Also have my picture right from the previous week as well. So now we're not just downloading files right from the internet, from GUI apps. We're doing it purely in the command line. This file was generated in the command line. I moved it from folder to folder in the command line, and I can even make a copy of it. So copy sample.txt. Let's make a copy of it into homework. Notice I had to go up a directory because sample.txt is inside downloads. Homework is on the same level as downloads, so I gotta go up. And yeah, now if I should have the file available now in both places. It's here in downloads. And if I navigate up a directory and then to homework and then I ls, there you go. You can ls from the downloads folder, so I'll show you, or I'll ls into the downloads folder from the homework folder. Downloads. And notice I'm able to ls right to another directory even though I'm in the homework directory. So homework directory, notice it just has sample.txt. Downloads has sample.txt, and that file I downloaded from the previous week. So yeah, that's copy. We did move. Last but not least is remove. So I'm going to navigate back to my downloads, and I'm going to remove the image. So the way you do it is just rm and then the file And just like that, there's no more untitled JPEG. So I'm going to touch in another untitled, or I'm going to say new image.jpg. You wouldn't typically touch or create a new image through the command line because ImageWrite to render that data is a little bit complicated. It's mostly like text files, any files that have words in them. But you know, sky's the limit. Literally, when it comes to these commands, like you can create all kinds of files. Totally up to you. So if I ls, there should be a new image.jpg. So now there's two files in there. What if I want to clear that? Let's actually make a directory in here too. Let's call it sub downloads or something. There it is. So now I have a directory. I have two files in my downloads folder. I don't really want to delete my downloads folder, so maybe we'll actually cd into our sub downloads. And then I'll make some files here. We're going to do sample.txt. We'll do a sample pic. .jpg. Now if I ls, I have two files in there. Alright, so let's say I do want to delete this folder. So let's go cd up. So I'm in my downloads folder. I want to delete the sub downloads folder. And before I delete it, I'm going to make a directory in here too. We'll call it sub downloads. You know, one inside another. It's nested two levels. Hence the name sub. So let's go up a directory. I'm in my downloads folder. I ls. And I can see my sub downloads folders in there. My sample.txt, my new image. If I ls sub downloads, then it has my sample pic, my sample.txt, and my sub download. So another folder in there. I can't do mr remove directory on sub downloads. That won't work. Fail to remove sub downloads because it's not empty. If I want to delete this, I got to go with either rm-f sub downloads or rm-rf. Now, when would I choose one over the other? Let's see. Cannot remove sub downloads. It is a directory. So here's where I need to use my recursive delete. Sub downloads. There you go. So now my sub downloads is gone. Everything inside sub downloads is also gone. So rm-f will work perfectly fine for a file. You don't need the -f unless the file is protected. Now you do need the R if you're going to start deleting nested directories. So sub downloads had a folder in there, had files in there. Perhaps that folder could have other files and other folders in there. So all those levels, that's where you need the -r-f. So if you really want to delete everything, you got to go with your recursive delete with that R flag. The F is just to force it so it doesn't prompt you and ask you to double check that you're sure you want to delete. So yeah, use it carefully because it will wipe everything out in that directory and all the directories beneath it. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this week. Those are the commands. We moved, we copied. Feel free to pause the video right on each command if you need to double check what each one does. But that's it. That should be everything you need for the lab. So please check out the lab instructions. It's just another exercise with the commands. Nothing too crazy, right? Definitely right. I want you to see the slides first, watch the videos first before you give that lab a shot. All right. Good luck with the lab, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions.